I kept envisioning all day that I was going to trip up them steps, so I had to concentrate. But I am always grateful to be on the icuTalks stage. This is my third opportunity to be here, so I am absolutely grateful for the ministry, the missionary, whatever we want to call it. I am grateful that I get to be a part of it. So, like Stephanie, I'm going to have to so this is my thing when I want to go to a slide, so we'll go to a slide. So, dear younger me, you have been appointed. We don't even know that we've been appointed. And Stephanie was about to get the Luke Kuechly because she just was all on my stuff. And I was like, I might have to go up there and do some defensive tackle on her today because she was just all up in my stuff. But dear younger me, blackberry brandy is not juice. And if you drink the whole thing, some things will happen. Yes, y'all. I drank a whole pint of blackberry brandy by myself because I thought it was a juice. And that wasn't a pretty sight. Went down into a slope, went sleigh riding. I'm from Connecticut, so, we get snow up there. Went down to the snow, and everybody kept doing their little sleigh ride, and they looked around 20 minutes later. They were looking for me. The only reason why they found me was because somebody scooted by, and it hit my red jacket, and there I was, face down in the snow. Dear younger me, don't do that again. Dear younger me, the police and your mom are looking for you because you vandalized your boyfriend's car. That would not be a good idea to have the police looking for you. I didn't even know which was worse, the police or my mother. And so when they found me, when the police found me, they said, we're going to let you go home because we've already met your mother. So we're going to let her deal with you. Dear younger me, you should have gone ahead and finished college, so that would be the first thing that you got to finish. Because sometimes, we think, as Stephanie stated, we think we know it all, and we just going to kind of do our own thing. And so, that's a regret because I didn't finish. Dear younger me, maybe you should have been more focused earlier on. So now you would be enjoying life a different way. Now I'm at 50, I'm trying to catch up and do certain things, and we're learning so many new things, and just like, oh my God, how many times have you said, hindsight is 20/20? If only I knew then what I know now. What if you did? Would you listen? I mean, we think that we would listen to that previous voice, but there's a lot that I would say to the younger me. Dear younger me, dark skin is the end skin. Now, those are just a few things that I would say to the young Suzan Pearson. But if you lean in a little bit, I want to ask you, what would you say to the younger you? There's a lot of things that we would say to that younger person. Those are just a few things. We don't even have time. Kim would tackle me if we went through some of the things that I would like to tell the younger me. But I want you to take a journey with me. The last point that I mentioned where it said dark skin is the end skin. We have people that can wear their scars on the outside because you get to see sometimes people who are in abusive relationships, people who have addictions, whether it's drugs or, alcohol or, whatever the addiction may be. Mine happened to be inner, which was self-worth and value. I grew up in an era where it was dark skin or light skin. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. It was dark skin and light skin. While they were fighting after they fought the battle in the 60s for civil rights, just for whites and blacks, then the blacks were in the struggle with light skin and dark skin. And, we didn't have all the little cute terms like we got now. You brown and cocoa and all this other. You were either light or you were dark. There were no options. You were either light or you were dark. And so, having that skin tone determined whether you got accepted into certain things or whether you fit into certain groups. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think it was probably just 10 years ago I just really started liking light-skinned people. Because It was, I have a friend of mine. I would give her a hard time. I said, girl, I can't even deal with you because you light skinned and you got good hair. So there's two strikes right there. So I'm struggling with that. But it was a real thing. It was a real thing from my grammar school years right into elementary or grammar school and middle school, where, the boys like the light-skinned girls with the long hair, and they didn't want to fool with the dark-skinned girls like me. I felt that I was this little frumpy, skinny, little unattractive little black girl, because like I said, there's no, we got cute terms now. I'm just like brown and cocoa and smooth and honey. Like, where did all this come from? And, it's just, and Dr. Barry knows what I'm talking about. And so it was a struggle for me. So I didn't like any part of me because of that. I didn't like my hair. I didn't like my body. I was skinny. I would love to be that skinny now. I really would. I think that was size 7, 8, or 9, 10. That would be some real cuteness right there. At 50, man, that would be some real cuteness, 7. But now it's 7 times 2. But I didn't like my body. I didn't like my hair because, back then you ain't get no relaxers. You got the straightening comb. And you got the straightening comb. So, and you sweat and your hair. It was just so many different struggles that I had to deal with. And then on top of that, I didn't like the skin that I was in, which is a real struggle. So you could imagine, for me, I felt invisible. I felt invisible. So I found a way, like many of you, where we feel that we don't fit in, we kind of go within. We find that safe place within ourselves to say, hey, I'm okay with this. And so I had found this place where I had convinced myself that I was okay, that how I felt about myself didn't hurt me, and what was being said didn't hurt me at all. But it did. So I want to know, God, why? Why did I have to be dark-skinned? What was the reason? Why? I like that girl's hair. She got it, because everybody, when you grew up in the 70s, everybody had long hair, Marsha Brady. Everybody wanted to have, the Marsha Brady hair. And our dolls had different texture hair. I wanted dolls with long hair. My mother wouldn't buy dolls with long hair. She bought them little dolls that had the little afros that if you tried to pick it out, the curls just went right back. And you couldn't do anything with those. It's, And so, but how many of you have ever felt invisible? And you purposely felt invisible because that was your escape. So I want to share with you a scripture where I was going to tackle Stephanie. Wait. I want you to repeat something. I forgot to have you repeat something. I forgive myself for what I did not know. You didn't know. You didn't know. And there's so many of us that beat ourselves up for stuff that we didn't know. Forgive yourself for what you did not know. So we're going to go ahead and read this scripture. Just what she was going to get. She done read 3 versions of it for y'all, so I'm even going to read it again, but we're going to fly through it. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and approved you as my chosen instrument. And before you were born, I consecrated you to myself as my own. I have appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Now, pretty much what this scripture is doing, God is reminding us that he had prepared us for greatness. He is reminding us that he had a plan. He is reminding us that we had a purpose. But that little dark-skinned girl in grammar school and middle school, she didn't know. She forgot. She wasn't aware. And so when I look back, I think of all the time that I lost being my authentic self. That's a lot of time to go from, grammar school. We start out like in K-12 or pre-K programs up there. So I was in school an extra year. I think I needed it. You start at pre-K and then you go up to 8th grade. So that's a lot of time to look around at other little girls and feel inferior to them. That's a lot of time. I mean, if we can think about, what's that, 8 years? If we could get back 8 years of our life based off of how old you are, how much more could you do? How much more could you do? But God was trying to tell us here that he consecrated us. But we didn't, and back then we didn't want to know that. If he wasn't at the club, there was no need of consecration. And I'm a PK, y'all. So I was on wheels. I was straight on wheels. So right here we're going to focus on some certain parts of the passage. I knew you and approved you before you were born. Which tells me that God said, I already got a plan for you. You have just got to get in place and know what I have planned for you. How many times do we miss his plan? Because guess what? We go through life figuring things out and stumbling over stuff and trying to do this because we start off trying to be what our parents want us to be. We start off looking at things that are glamorous and, oh, I want that, but that may not be for you. You want the corporate job, but God may want you to be in the missionary field. But trust me, y'all, I may not know a whole lot of what I'm supposed to do, but I know what I'm not called to do. I am not called to work with children in ministry, and I am not called to go out there into the missionary fields. Like that I know, but he knew what he had appointed us for. I have appointed you. I've appointed you. I've appointed you. I've appointed you. Do you know what you're appointed to do? How many of us know that? Hindsight is 20/20. Now that you know what you know, how would you have adjusted your life differently 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Because guess what? I'm 50, but 49 is still the younger me. What would I tell 49? What would I tell 45? What would I tell myself? So I have these points. I'm going to just remind myself and let y'all in on my inner thought. God knew that on November 12, 1966, I was going to be adopted. He knew before my parents got together that the child that they had, they were not going to be able to keep, and they were going to have to give her up for adoption. He knew that path. God knew that I was going to drink that blackberry brandy. Even if he had told me not to, I probably would have. Because they said it keeps you warm. It was cold. It was January, y'all. January in Connecticut. For those of you that know, it got cold in Connecticut. We don't have no real winters no more. When you got winter at 70, that's not winter. God knew I was going to vandalize that car because he knew that I had anger issues. He knew that I could get violent at any minute. I could just take something out, take somebody out, just do some crazy stuff. He knew that. God knew that I would have a child before I got married. He knew that. But he knew that he was going to send me a great husband to come along and raise 2 children and have a great family. He knew that, yes. God knew about all the bad habits and all the choices that I was going to make. And he still appointed me. Think about some of the choices that you've made. And he's appointed you. Never let anybody make you feel bad for your past decisions. Because we just sat up here amongst us all as witnesses and said, I forgive myself for what I didn't know. I forgive myself for what I didn't know. And he appointed you anyway. Next slide. Webster defines a point as to decide the time or place which something will happen. He knew I'd be here today. He knew I'd be sharing this with you. He knew I'd be on the stage this October, TED Talks. He knows that the books that I write will be bestsellers. He knows all the great things. He knows what you're going to do. The question is, do you know? Do you know? That's why it's so key to get in direct alignment with what God has for you, to get your ear inclined to his heart. And so I go to a scripture because it goes back to the reason why we don't believe in each other, in ourselves, is because that seed of doubt that the enemy planted in Genesis 3:1. We all know the story because we blame Eve for a whole lot of stuff. We blame Eve for a whole lot of stuff. But he said to her, has God indeed said? Has God indeed said? Has God indeed said you would live an abundant life? Has God indeed said you would get married and start a family? You'll own a business and create wealth for yourself? That you would be healed? You're beautiful and made perfect in his image. That was the one I didn't know. God didn't say that. If he did, he would have gave me good hair. He would have made me light-skinned. Has God indeed said you would? That you are and that you shall? What has God said? See, it's that little seed of doubt that he will put in to make you question what God has appointed you to do. Because his goal is to get us off course and get us off track and get us distracted from those things. I want to, look like this person. I want that job. I want to drive this. I want to live here. I want to do this. No, what have you appointed me to do? If I'm a prophet, what am I a prophet of? And see, because we get caught up in some of the lingo or the words that are used in the Bible. You think of a prophet. Now, when I think of a prophet, I automatically go to like the 10 Commandments with, they show every Easter and, everybody's in a little while. I mean, that's the visual that I have of that. And I don't see myself going around, just talking to folks and saying, this is what God thus saith the Lord, and this is what thus saith the Lord, and you shall. Sometimes just getting in your own platform, whether it's on this stage or at your office or at Starbucks or at Target, being vulnerable. Sharing your story, sharing your experience, saying what thus saith the Lord. Because every person in here can probably match their experience up with someone else in this room, and you will think that you are the only person that has gone through that. Do you know, I thought I was the only person that was going through the dark skin issue until I met some other dark skinned girls. I think we had a secret club. Like, I really do, because then when we all started talking, they were like, I felt this way. No, and for people that don't know, that's a real issue of self-worth and value because, television back then, especially for people of color, said that the only way that you can get on television and magazines, you had to be Caucasian with long hair, and then even Caucasians suffered within their own race because you had to have a certain length, you had to have a certain tone, you had to, everybody had these little idiosyncrasies about each other, and it's only because that person is making themselves look good. They're building themselves up. But when you know who you are, and when you know whose you are, and you know what you've been called to do, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. So by the time I got to high school, I was just a straight fool to be reckoned with, because I'm like, I know who I am. I don't even care. You can call me Blackie. You can call me Darkie. You can call me Chocolate. You can call me Charcoal. All those names that go with it. Then I had the other curse. I had a big forehead. So it was all kinds of stuff. I'm like, just attack me. But by the time I got to high school, I had a friend of mine who was very, very confident in who she was, because she was the tallest person in my class. I was like, you are a tall girl. You're the tallest person I've ever met. She was very confident. Her name was Robin. Robin's very confident. And being her friend and her befriending me was like, wow. She has to accept being tall. I'm like, okay, you play basketball. But it showed me this is who I'm supposed to be. And then my confidence just began to build up in myself, and it didn't matter. And then I started wearing certain colors. Because when you dark skinned, there were certain colors you stayed away from, right? I ain't with no red or orange for a long time. Red or orange were not my colors. And yellow. And now I embrace those colors, and those are the colors where I get the most compliments. Those are the colors where I get the most confidence. So I say that to say the thing that you could be running away from, that is the complementary you. That is the complementary you. So dig deep within yourself and say, what am I running from? So I ask you again, final slide. I think I have a final slide there. I forgive myself for what I did not know. I am no longer the younger me. Let that sink in for a minute. We forgave ourselves earlier on. You didn't know. You didn't know that you weren't supposed to feel that way. You didn't know and understand your appointment by God. You didn't know that you were chosen. You didn't know that. But I'm no longer the younger me. I thank you for your time. And the next slide, I think I have another slide there. Yeah, that's where y'all can find me. That's where y'all can find me. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.